Hello guys and welcome back to Planet 40k. Today we've got a 2000 point Canoptek Court list. Just my list again as always. We've done the Star Shatter Arsenal, we've done the Awakened Dynasty and we've done the Hypercrypt Legion already in this mini series. So today is the turn of the Canoptek Court. And before we do get into the video, just a little plug, shameless plug for my other channel. I've just started a video gaming channel called the Sidequester. Link will be down in the comment or the description down below. If you're into video games and collecting trophies and doing side quests, locations, bosses and stuff like that, yeah, help me out, support the channel, and yeah, jump on over there and maybe you'll enjoy the content. We're starting us off with Astro Bot, if you're familiar with that on the PlayStation. Anyway, plug out the way, we're talking Necrons today, not video gaming. Canoptek Court list. So as we know with the Canoptek Court, we have got the power matrix. So if we start us off with our own deployment zone, we've always got that, that's within our matrix. If we have at least half the objectives in the no man's land, we're going to have that as our power matrix, and of course the same applies to the enemy deployment zone as well. We're always going to be re-rolling ones to hit with Cryptek and Canoptek units, and if we're within a power matrix, we're going to get to re-roll everything, which is why it's quite important to keep the power matrix running throughout the battle. Okay. So all the intros are out the way. Let's start this off then with a, Technomancer number 1. 85 point Technomancer. Get that out of my mouth. Technomancer, 85 points with the enhancement Dimensional Sanctum. Dimensional Sanctum for 20 points. You're basically giving the unit that he is leading the Infiltrator's ability. So they can deploy anywhere in the battlefield as long as you're not in enemy deployment zone or 9 inches away from it, or enemy models that is. So if there's an enemy infiltrating unit, you need to stay 9 inches away from that unit as well. So that's the first Technomancer. The second one, another 85 point Technomancer of course, and another enhancement, because you can have up to 3 here. 10 point enhancement, which is the Metallodermal Tesla Weave. This is for a Cryptek model only, so it applies to Technomancer, and it is once per phase. When an enemy unit selects the bearer's unit as a target of a charge, so basically the charge phase there, isn't it? You roll a d6 on a 2, 3, 4 or 5. Enemy unit suffers d3 mortal wounds, and on a 6 they suffer 3 mortal wounds. To be honest, I had 10 points spare, I threw this on. It will give a little bit of damage going out maybe. And to be honest, it probably will get its points back. If it kills a Space Marine, or if it kills, one or two smaller things, smaller guardsmen, you're probably getting your points back, so it's not the worst thing really, especially if you've got 10 points spare. Third one, we've got another enhancement, 15 point enhancement, which is the Hyperphasic Fulcrum. This is the ability to allow for his unit to be able to reroll wound rolls over 1 if they are within the power matrix. Again, it's going to be quite important to keep that unlocked throughout the battle. And you do have to wholly be within your power matrix. So you've got to watch out for one model sticking out over the line into, say, enemy deployment zone. So 3 Technomancers, 3 enhancements, you know what they're leading. We're in the Canoptek Court, it's not that, you don't need a rocket science degree for that kind of thing. But they're super resilient, as you know. They're healing, and they've got the 5+ Fear No Pain saves for the unit. And they're going to work with the detachment, of course, because they are Crypteks. So they can work with not only what they're going to be going with, but even if they were going with the Battleline Units, they could work because they would give the Cryptek keyword. Now we've got 2 more characters within this Canoptek Court list. Both of them are Plasmancers for 60 points for a model. So that's going to be 2 more Crypteks again to be applying with the Power Matrix. Decent offensive Crypteks overall. And like the previous list, I tend to go with 5. I'm not going to go through why again because I've explained that a few times now. But I do like the Plasmancers. They're quite aggressive, lethal hits on a 5+, and they can shoot pretty well, and their ability is also just as good. So that's the 5 characters. Now this is probably a good time to talk about one of the stratagems, which is Curse of the Cryptek, because we've got 5 Crypteks right here. Now for 1 CP in your opponent's shooting phase or any of the fight phases, if you do lose a Cryptek model, it goes down. Maybe it's just the units be wiped, or maybe it's precision attacks. If you lose a Cryptek, you pop the stratagem for 1 CP, and until the end of the battle, any friendly Canoptek units will have a +1 to the hit roll and a +1 to wound against that said unit that destroyed our Cryptek. Which is pretty cool because we've got a lot of Canoptek units overall, but within this list especially. So remember that one for any time that you lose a Cryptek model, you may as well pop this stratagem. Right, on to the Battleline units then. We've got 2 identical units of Necron Immortals, 10-man units, so that's 20 in total, and I've gone with Tesla Carbines. Now these are both going to be led by Plasmancers, and that means that the sustained hits 2 will be effectively popping off as soon as you get a 5 to hit. Now, why this is really special for this detachment especially is A, you're re-rolling ones to hit. If you're within the power matrix, you're re-rolling everything. So what does that mean? Anything that isn't a 5, you could opt to re-roll it. Even if it was a hit, even if it was a 3, you could potentially just re-roll it. Yes, you've got the unfortunate chance of rolling a 1 or a 2 and not actually scoring a hit with that dice, but you've also got the chance of rolling a 5. So it probably equals out in percentages overall. But I like having the option of looking at your dice, looking at your hits, and going, you know what, I need some more here, and then just re-rolling, going for those sustained hits. So it's pretty good. So yeah, 2 units of them, Battleline units of course, led by the Plasmancers. They are re-rolling ones to hit anyway, so you could just apply those re-rolls. They're also going to be re-rolling their wound rolls as well, of a 1, because that's what their natural ability is. And potentially they're going to be re-rolling all the wound rolls if the enemy unit is on an objective. So there's a lot of re-rolls for Immortals, which I really do like, alongside their OC as well, which is one of the main reasons you take Battleline units. Now we may as well talk about the next stratagem here, which is Solar Pulse. 1 CP. It applies to a Cryptek unit within your list. So this will apply to the Plasmancer in fact, but he's going with these Immortals. And you select an objective marker within 18 inches of that Plasmancer. And then basically for the rest of the phase, this ignores cover. Now, Tesla Carbines don't have any AP, but if you were firing at, I don't know, again, a Guardian, and it's got a 5+ armor save, then all of a sudden it's got cover, so it becomes a 4+ armor save. It starts to get a bit meh, you know? So removing cover means they're not going to get any bonuses from that cover save, and even though you've not got any AP, you at least know where you stand with their armor save. So that could be a pretty good one to use from the stratagems list. So that is the Battleline units. There's 2 Battleline units in total, 150 points per unit. Let's get on to the other units within this detachment, starting us off with not 1, but not 2, but 3 Canoptek Doomstalkers. It's pretty common to have 3 in this kind of list. We do need some anti-tank. You could go with Locust Heavies, you could go with Doomsday Arcs, but they don't apply to the detachment rule in the same way that Doomstalkers do. Doomstalkers are likely going to be within our home objective area, maybe in the No Man's Land, and if they were in the No Man's Land, you would hope to have the power matrix open there as well. So that means they're going to be re-rolling all the hit rolls. Even though they're hitting on 4s, they're re-rolling everything, which is very nice when you've got D6+1 with Blast in terms of the amount of attacks you've got. And 3 of them, times 3 that is. So there's a lot of output when you're re-rolling those hit rolls. The damage of course being -3 AP and 3 damage a pop. It's pretty tidy with 3 of them. So yeah, we're going to go with those. The standard trifecta we call it in the Canoptek Corps. Absolutely brutal, especially in our home DZ. We've got another Canoptek unit next, which is, in fact no. Hold that thought, we're going to go back a second with Mr. Stratagem. Reactive subroutines. This is probably where you would use this. You select a Canoptek unit within your opponent's movement phase. If they get within 9 inches, you can make a normal move on up to 6 inches. So if there's a unit, I don't know, it could be some Mega Knobs going after your Doomstalker. They're trying to line up a charge. Maybe they've done a war, they've advanced, they've moved advance, and they're lining up a nice simple charge. They've got within 9 of your end of your Doomstalker triangle. You pop this stratagem, all of a sudden you can move 6 inches away, and that could massively affect their charge. So they're going to have to either go for another Doomstalker maybe, or something else. Maybe they're completely out of charge range now, or you've just given them like a 10 or 11 inch charge or something, and they're not as likely to do it, especially when we've got our Overwatch stratagem as well, which we didn't really mention with their ability when you can actually hit on a 5+ in Overwatch. So that could be really key. It also works with the Canoptek, all the other Canoptek units that we've got, I suppose, within this detachment, but I like it more with the Doomstalkers. Now the next Canoptek unit, which I was about to mention, is a Reanimator for 75 points. Healing, in the reanimation part of the command phase. I like to use this with the Doomstalkers, but you could throw this out with other units, any unit you wanted really. The Doomstalkers, I think, are your only anti-tank, so you do need to keep them up and running. So you're going to get double reanimation beams from the reanimator, so you're going to be healing 2d3 as opposed to 1d3 in your command phase. Now, a stratagem that you could be using here is the counter-temporal shift, or a 1 CP in your opponent's shooting phase on a Canoptek unit. If they're targeted and they're not within 18 inches of range, you cannot target that unit. Now, the reanimator may be a target because of the fact that we're going to get so much out of it with the reanimation protocols. So you could use it there to prevent it from being targeted. It doesn't have an in-1 save, don't forget as well. Even though it has a feel no pain save, there's no invulnerable save. Maybe it's not targetable, maybe it's behind a ruin, which is probably the best way to use it. In that case, you'd probably save it on a Doomstalker, but then they're going to select another Doomstalker. So I would keep it for the reanimator if needed. Don't forget the reanimator can also assist with the actions, because it's not really doing much at range or in melee, so it could be a little action monkey that's closer to home. Area denial, it could be recover assets, something like that. Could also be, what's the one on the sides of the board? So I always forget that one. Containment, is it containment? It is containment, isn't it? The one on the edges of the battlefield. Maybe it can do those kind of actions. So it's worthwhile having some sort of action monkey within the list. Okay, next we've got 3 units of Canoptek Wraiths. You saw this coming, of course, with the 3 Technomancers. What else is better to lead than the Canoptek Wraiths? 4+ invulnerable save, toughness 6. Now with the 5+ fear no pain save from the Technomancers, they're going to be healing. Maybe the reanimator follows them. Could do that. Vicious Claws, Particle Beamers, the standard loadout there. The strength 6 in melee, and the Particle Beamers are pretty good with their pistols, so they can shoot in engagement range. They can move and create mortal wounds on the movement. But I tend to not manage to get that ability to come off as much because I'm in the no man's land slugging it out with them, holding down the power matrix, holding down the primary objectives to score primary objective points in our command phase. That's what they do. They get all dirty in the no man's land, and it's sort of everything becomes a bit of a mess, but that's what they do, and they keep coming back, which is what I like. So yeah, they're not the best damage dealers, but they do enough and then come back. That's why they're a pain in the ass for your opponent to deal with. 3 units of them is pretty heavy though. 18 Canoptek Wraiths, all with the Technomancers. Remember, there's 3 enhancements here. One had the Infiltrator's ability, so you'd be popping one straight into the no man's land right from the off. One had the extra mortal wound damage if they got charged. And the third one, I'm going to have to go back because I can't even remember what that one was. It was the rerolls of 1s, isn't it? So they're going to be rerolling 1s to wound, which is a little bit more damage as well. But yeah, that's the main heavy hitters of this list. The 3 Wraiths, I suppose the Doomstalkers are as well. Those 6 units right there are pretty good. I mean, the Immortals are good as well, you know, with the Plasmancer. But yeah, some good units there. Now, we've got some stratagems that we've not spoke about yet, and I'm going to put them both here because there's 3 tanky units that we need to talk about. So, the Cynosure of Eradication is the first one. It is 2 CP, but it works on Canoptek or Cryptek units, but only Canoptek or Cryptek weapons as well, or models. So if you are, say for example, putting Plasmancers with Immortals, those Immortals are not technically Crypteks because they're not weapons equipped by the Cryptek model, so therefore they wouldn't apply to those Immortals. But Canoptek Wraiths have the Canoptek keyword. So you're going to unlock Devastating Wounds as well for the phase, in your shooting phase or the fight phase. That could be pretty good, but it is 2 command points. Now the other one I wanted to mention here is the Suboptimal Facade. In your opponent's charge phase, basically the unit that got charged, or it was a target of a charge in the power matrix, gets to reanimate. Could be good. An extra model might pop out of nowhere back into the scene, make their fight a little bit more difficult. If you've got the reanimator nearby, it's going to be 2d3. You could get really lucky and get a couple of models back. It could be decent there with a reanimator if that's the way you wanted to play it. Then we've got 80 points left within the list, and I noticed there wasn't really much in terms of scoring, and I didn't want a hex mark again because the characters have already got 5. Death marks didn't quite fulfill the points cost, so I've gone with Ophidian Destroyers. they're 80 points clean, so that would put us on 2,000 points total. And at least they can not only score, but with their tunneling horrors ability, they can pop in and out as and when, which I think is going to be very useful behind enemy lines, established locus, primary objectives as well. Some of the secondaries will apply to. They can fight. Now they're not going to have the detachment rule bonuses. They're not going to have the, they're not going to be applied to the power matrix. They're not going to be re-rolling ones and all that stuff. And none of the stratagems will work. But it was literally 80 points spare. I could have got a couple of units of Canoptek Scarabs even, and they are Canoptek. They can't do actions because they've got no OC, so it didn't really... They could have been a good screen, I suppose, but I thought I want something a bit different, just to get in the enemy backlines. We don't have anything like that. There's no deep strike. So yeah, that's why I've gone with the Ophidian Destroyers. I think they'll be useful. So that is 2,000 points on the nose, and that's my Canoptek Court list. Let me know your list below, and if you can upgrade or improve my list, also let me know down below. Guys, remember to check out the other channel, which is the Sidequester, if you're into video gaming. But as for this video, all that's left to say is thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.